Hello everyone, this is Mr. Underkoffler, and today we're going to be looking at part 2 of the guided notes called Angles, Vertical, Complementary, and Supplementary. If you never saw part 1 and you still don't have those parts of the guided notes, make sure you stop this video now and watch the previous video I did for the first part. We're going to go ahead and start part 2 here. Third page of the guided notes, it says for all problems on this page, if you have to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, to figure out the answer, show your work. I always want to see what you're doing to get your answer. Now, having said that, not every problem here is going to need you to show work. Some will, some will not. Problems 1 through 6 are going to say find the value of x, then state the type of angles the problem was showing. Now, let me clarify, and you can write this down. When I say the type of angles, the only 3 types I'm really looking for here are vertical angles, complementary angles, or supplementary angles. So that's what I want you to write down after you did whatever work you needed to do, if any work was needed, to get the value of x. I would like for you to try problems 1 through 6 right now on your own. Please feel free to flip back to the very first page of the guided notes to see some other sample problems that we did from that page. Use it to guide you through numbers 1 through 6. So hit pause now, do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 on your own, and then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. All right, did you already do numbers 1 through 6? If not, hit pause now. You got to do these problems on your own to help you learn the vocabulary. All right, problem number 1. How do I find the value of x? Well, notice this right angle. We have 2 angles that together form that right angle, which means I can simply take 90 degrees, which is what that little square is, 90 degrees, and subtract away the 61.8 degree angle to get the value of x. I also could have written this as an equation. You can see an example of that from the very first page if you chose to write it as an equation for problem number 2 on the first page. But either way, you're going to end up subtracting 61.8 from 90, 28.2 degrees. By the way, second part of the directions, this was a pair of complementary angles. All right, problem number 2. This time we have 2 angles that are opposite angles of each other. The 139 degree angle is pointing or opening up to the top. The x degree angle is opening down to the bottom, formed by 2 intersecting lines. We call those a pair of vertical angles. And here's what's important about vertical angles. They are congruent. Therefore, there's no work that needs to be shown at all to get the value of x when you have 2 angles that are congruent. Same measure, 139 degrees. All right, problem 3 up on the top right-hand corner of your page. Notice that this time, these 2 angles together form a straight angle, which means they are a pair of supplementary angles. Now, how do I do the work? Well, we know the straight angle is 180 degrees. Therefore, I can take 180 minus 143 and 2/7. Feel free to use the fraction mixed number keys of your calculator. That is going to give you 36 and 5/7 degrees for the value of x. Now, number 4, over on the left side of your paper. What type of angles are these? They're actually the same as problem number 2. They're a pair of vertical angles. Now, on number 2, the 2 angles opened up to the top and opened up to the bottom. Here on problem number 4, angle x opens up to the kind of top left, and 167 and 5/6 degrees opens to the kind of right bottom side. They are a pair of vertical angles, which means they have the exact same measure, so x will equal 167 and 5/6 degrees. No work is needed. Now, the slightly more challenging problems, numbers 5 and 6. How do I do number 5? Well, notice the square. The square means 90 degrees. And since that square is on this straight line, I could also conclude that the x degree angle and the 39 degree angle would also both make 90 degrees. So I shouldn't say also both because there was no 2 angles over here. But since this is 90, this is also 90, and that's 2 adjacent angles that make that 90 degree angle. Therefore, x and 39 are a pair of complementary angles. They together form a 90 degree angle, and therefore I can take 90, subtract away the 39, giving me the measure of x, which is 51 degrees. All right, finally, problem number 6. This one is a little bit trickier. And the easiest way for me to show this to you is to bring back one of my dark shades here. I'm going to use this one. This one over here I will go ahead and get rid of. I know it was a hexagon, and you're like, how in the world do I do a hexagon problem for angles? Well, cover up the top half of this picture. And what do you notice? You have two angles that together form a straight angle. Well, what do we know about that? We know they are called supplementary angles. And if you take 180 and subtract away the 120, you will get the value of x, which is 60 degrees. So yes, number 6 was initially a little weird looking, being a hexagon, but once you cover up that top half, you notice you actually have two angles side by side that together form a straight angle. Straight angles are 180 degrees. All right, time for some more problems. 7, 8, and 9. This time there's no pictures, it just mentions vocabulary. I want you to try them on your own. And there's also a little section at the bottom on naming an angle with 3 letters. You can go ahead and read that to yourself and then try number 10 on your own. So I want you to try 7, 8, and 9 and also number 10 all on your own. Hit pause on the video now, do those 4 problems, then hit play when you're ready to see how you did. All right, did you already do 7, 8, 9 and also number 10? If not, you better hit pause now because I'm about to go over them. Problem number 7. Two angles are supplementary. What do we know? That means they add to equal 180. So the quickest way of getting the answer is to say 180 subtracted by 74.5 is going to give you the answer for x. Now, if you wanted to write an equation, I've actually seen some kids do this, where they say x plus 74.5 is equal to 180. If you want to do it that way, I have no problem with that. And then you would subtract on both sides, and you would get the exact same answer doing it this way. So if you want to do it the equation way, you may. If you don't want to do, if you just want to subtract from the total of 180, that works as well. All right, number 8. Two angles are complementary. That means they add up to be 90 degrees. So you can take 90 minus 74.5, and that's going to give you the answer for x, 15.5 degrees. Again, if you wanted to set that up as an equation, like I was showing you as an alternate method for number 2, except that on number 8, the equation, they would add up to equal 90. You could do it that way if you wanted to. Problem number 9, two angles are vertical angles. That means they're congruent, so there is no work. It's going to be the same measure for x as it was for the other one that was 74.5 degrees. They're going to both equal each other. That's what we should know about vertical angles. All right, the bottom section talked about how when you, instead of using a numbering system, you can name an angle with 3 letters. For example, the angle here that I'm pointing at on the left, notice that uses the letters A, and then X is the vertex, and then B. Notice the vertex must always be the middle letter, and then the other 2 letters are the other endpoints there for those 2 different rays. So that's how I can name a letter with 3 angles, or with 3 letters, forgive me. Or I could do, let me undo the highlighting that I already did here. Notice how BXC forms this angle on the right, and again, the middle letter is the vertex whenever you name an angle with 3 letters. All right, with that being in mind, let's take a look at problem number 10. It says, name the angle that is a vertical angle with angle FHJ. Okay, who is FHJ? FHJ. So we're talking about this angle that opens up towards the bottom. I need the vertical angle to FHJ. Well, that would be the angle that goes opposite direction of my FHJ. So that's this angle that opens up this way. What is that angle called? That is called GHI, or IHG. You could actually start with I, or you could start with G. It's totally up to you. But you must make sure the middle letter is the vertex. So it's up to you which way you wanted to write that. You can start with G, you can start with I. Doesn't matter, but it must be those 3 letters forming that angle that opens up, since that's a vertical angle with the one that opened downwards. All right, that's it for the independent practice problems of the guided notes called Angles, Vertical, Complementary, and Supplementary. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.